This may sound weird, but growing up, we've all heard the saying, drugs not even once. I think this quote is heavily misunderstood, especially in a business and SMMA context. Now, there are 3 phases of this saying that you need to understand, but if you can understand them, then they'll create this like crazy compounding flywheel effect in your business that will just make you completely take off and go nuts. And this doesn't even just apply to business. It can apply to your financial situation, your health, your personal life, your relationships, whatever it is. So this is really like a bigger picture, deeper conversation that can benefit your life in so many different ways and has benefited mine in, again, so many different ways. And it's all about the conversation of consistency and becoming more consistent. The more consistent you are, the more consistent your business is, your results are, your client results are, your referrals are, your income is, your relationships are, like your health, everything. So if you can just understand the 3 phases of this, it can actually change your life. And I know that sounds crazy, but I'll just explain. First is we need to understand why this saying even exists. So drugs, not even once. The reason the saying exists at its core is when you do a drug once, some people will call it the tripwire effect. When you do a drug once, you're far more likely to do it again than if you never had done a single drug before in your life once. Your likelihood of repeating the action skyrockets when you do something once. In this case, drugs. If you've ever started drinking or like vaping or smoking or something like this, when you do it once, the odds you're gonna say yes and do it again just go way up. Now, what you can do from here is expand this to any vice. Again, it could be drinking, it could be vaping, it could be playing video games too much, it could be sleeping in, tons of any bad activity, unhealthy activity, eating junk food. Like for example, I'll give you an easy example. My mom had never purchased from Amazon before. And when she ordered her first product from Amazon, I knew exactly what was going to happen. She was going to do it once. She's going to get the product in, realize how easy it was, and then be like, oh, well, I'm just going to do this from now on. Lo and behold, she orders one product, comes in the mail like the next day or 2 days later or something like that. Lo and behold, she's ordering stuff on Amazon all the time. But until the point that she had never ordered from Amazon once, she just wasn't doing it. She'd go to the store or something. Then one time, in the blink of an eye, she's ordering from Amazon all the time. Not all the time, but you get the idea. So phase number 1 is if you have these bad habits in any shape or form, it could be not working, it could be scrolling TikTok or YouTube Shorts or something like that, if you guys even watch that. It could be whatever these vices are, you need to understand that and then stop doing them ASAP, which can be pretty hard and it can take a lot of time. So little suggestion there, if you're trying to quit vices, pick maybe 2, max 3 at a time, because otherwise it's going to be really hard to break everything and change your whole lifestyle overnight. Although some people will argue that if they just cut everything off all at once, it's actually easier because they're making this massive drastic change. Whatever works for you, you're going to have to test that for yourself. But phase 1 is understanding that and then taking away all of these bad habits that you're doing and essentially cleaning up your lifestyle. When you clean up your lifestyle, what happens is you increase your confidence in yourself because you realize you can do things that you otherwise thought were really challenging to do, such as stop eating junk food or sugar, or stopping drinking all the time, or smoking all the time. Then as you build this confidence within yourself, you start to be able to transfer energy and free up time that you would be spending scrolling on your phone or just doing useless activities. You can transfer that into the gym, into relationships, or into your business. And then when you transfer this into these 3 spots, or it can be other spots, your health, whatever, then what ends up happening is you start to kind of have this flywheel effect slowly start in a positive direction in your life. Love him or hate him, if you know Jordan Peterson, I learned this from him. What he had said is essentially that people succeed exponentially and people equally fail exponentially. So when you get stuck in a rut, it's easy for everything to fall apart in your life. But when you start, heading in the positive, successful direction, I don't know of a better term off the top of my mind right now, but creating good habits, then what happens is this flywheel starts spinning and spinning, and it takes longer than you want it to. It might take a year, 2 years, if you're starting a business, for example, for you to start seeing some real tangible results. But then you need to find out where are you on that curve, and then eventually it's obvious where you are on the curve because you're scaling at this breakneck speed. So number 1 is getting out of wherever you are on the failure curve and pushing yourself towards the success side of the curve, not the failure curve, but the overall curve, pushing yourself more towards the success side of the curve, and then just sticking with it. And people say, oh, trust the process. You do have to trust that doing these activities for a long enough period of time will serve you well, because they will. If you just don't stop doing the right things, you'll end up in a good place. And again, it takes a lot longer than you want it to, but either way, that's something worth noting. So now that you're building this compounding effect, that's kind of like the phase 2. So phase 1 is getting yourself out of the bad habits. Phase 2 is setting in these new good habits and this new, better, more positive lifestyle that's going to get you the things that you want. And then the third phase is where the saying comes back into play. Because now that you're being incredibly consistent, you're working out X number of times per week, you're eating Y number of calories per day, you're working X number of hours in your business, so on and so forth, you're doing the right tasks in your business, you're sending a certain number of outreach messages per day in your business. Now you can't let yourself slip up for a minute when you're riding that success curve up, because you can just fall right back down in the other direction whenever you let up. This curve, it's crazy. You're like climbing uphill all the time, and it's so easy to fall back down. It is so easy. You start waking up late, you start eating junk food, you start drinking more, whatever it is that you do, scrolling on your phone more. And all of a sudden you're not sending your outreach messages, and then you don't have enough leads, and then you don't have enough sales, and then you don't have enough revenue. And you're like, who am I? I suck at everything. Why am I even doing this? I'm terrible. I'm never going to succeed. All because you started waking up later. So drugs, not even once. When you get into this compounding state, or when you get more on the compounding, the positively compounding side of the curve, you cannot let up. Cannot, or you will be screwed. You can catch yourself on the way down, but you fall down fast. I had a month where I went 0 for 60 on sales calls. 0 for 60 because I fell into a rut because of everything I just told you. Luckily, I was able to bounce back super quickly and change some things by cleaning my room on time again every single week, going to bed at the exact time I set an alarm for myself, waking up at the exact time I set my alarms for. I tell myself every single night before I go to bed, if you are not standing at 9:14, you're screwed, because that's just when my alarm is. Don't judge me. But I say that to myself every night. If you are not standing at 9:14, you're screwed, you're dead. Because that's what happened. If you thought this was useful, would love to hear it in the comments, would love to hear your take. Is this something you've heard of or thought of before? Because it was pretty useful to me. Otherwise, see you soon.